In the quiet town of Seville, New York, a story began that would later captivate the hearts of many. Born on a cold day in February 1977, Michelle Young entered the world with a spark in her eyes that foretold her future determination and ambition. As she grew, Michelle's spirit became the talk of the town. Her parents often found her in the backyard, practicing cheerleading routines until the sun dipped below the horizon. Her persistence was unparalleled, her dreams as vast as the starry night sky above her small town. At school, Michelle's charisma and leadership shone through. She wasn't just a student. She was a force, propelling herself and those around her towards excellence. Her peers watched in awe as she effortlessly balanced academics with being the captain of the cheerleading team, each move as precise and graceful as a dance. But Michelle yearned for more than the accolades of high school. Her eyes were set on a loftier goal, becoming a tax attorney. It was an ambition that surprised many in her modest town, but to Michelle, it was a challenge she was eager to embrace. Her determination led her to the prestigious University of North Carolina in Raleigh, a place where her dreams could take flight. Here, she found herself amidst scholars and future leaders, her mind alight with possibilities. She joined the university's cheerleading team. But soon, the academic rigor called for her undivided attention. With a resolute heart, Michelle stepped away from the cheering crowds to delve deeper into her studies. The university corridors became her new arena, her intellect the tool she wielded with finesse. She was not just a student. She was a vision of determination, her eyes always fixed on the future. She was so fervently crafting. As Michelle's college years progressed, her reputation as a dedicated student and aspiring attorney grew. Yet, amidst the endless hours of study and legal jargon, fate was quietly weaving a new thread into the tapestry of her life. A thread that would lead her to cross paths with a man named Jason, a meeting that would mark the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with love, dreams, and unforeseen shadows. This was Michelle Young, a beacon of ambition and resolve, standing on the precipice of a life that promised greatness. Little did she know, her story would unfold in ways she never could have imagined. A tale that would echo through the halls of justice and time. In the bustling corridors of the University of North Carolina, amidst the thrum of young dreams and academic pursuits, Michelle Young's life was about to take an unexpected turn. It was February 2001, and the air was filled with the crisp promise of spring. Michelle, now a figure of admiration and resolve on campus, was celebrating her 24th birthday. Little did she know that this celebration would be the backdrop for a fateful encounter. The party was vibrant, a reflection of Michelle's own spirited nature. Friends laughed and danced, toasting to her future as a successful tax attorney. It was in the midst of this revelry that Jason entered the scene. Older than Michelle by a few years, he was an alumnus of the same university, now working as a sales agent for a prominent power tools company. His presence was unassuming, yet there was a certain charisma about him that caught Michelle's eye. Their meeting was serendipitous, a spark kindled amidst the buzz of birthday toasts and music. Conversation flowed easily between them, as if they had known each other for years. Jason's worldliness and maturity complemented Michelle's ambition and zest for life. It was a connection that felt almost predestined. In the weeks that followed, their bond deepened. Phone calls stretched into hours, and their dates were filled with laughter and shared dreams. Jason, who lived in another city for work, found himself drawn to Raleigh more often, each visit an eager step towards Michelle. As their relationship blossomed, so did Michelle's career. Her dedication at the local accounting firm was paying off, and she relished the challenges of her burgeoning profession. She had always been a woman of ambition, and now, with Jason by her side, her dreams seemed even more within reach. The pair became inseparable, a duo that exuded both love and aspiration. Jason's visits to Raleigh became more frequent until, eventually, he made the decision to move there permanently. It was a testament to the depth of their connection, a leap of faith into a shared future. Together, they navigated the complexities of young love and professional growth. Michelle's apartment, once a solitary haven of study and ambition, transformed into a home filled with the warmth of shared meals and plans for the future. Yet, beneath the surface of this idyllic chapter, there were undercurrents that whispered of challenges to come. For now, though, Michelle and Jason reveled in the bliss of newfound love, unaware of the twists and turns their journey would take. As seasons changed, so did the lives of Michelle and Jason. Their love, once a blossoming flower, had now rooted deeply, entwining their futures. The year was 2003, and Michelle, ever the achiever, had not only made a name for herself in her profession, but also in Jason's heart. In August of that year, their relationship took a monumental leap. Michelle's pregnancy added a new layer of depth to their bond, transforming their love into something more profound. It was a turning point that led them down the aisle, in a ceremony that was as elegant as it was heartfelt. The wedding was a beautiful affair, set against the backdrop of Raleigh's serene beauty, a testament to their love and commitment. The couple's joy was soon doubled with the arrival of their daughter, Cassidy. With her birth, Michelle and Jason's world was no longer just about ambitions and careers. It was about family, love, and the little joys that Cassidy brought into their lives. They moved to a larger home, situated in a prestigious neighborhood on the outskirts of the city, a symbol of their growing family and success. It was a home filled with laughter, baby giggles, and the endless chatter of family life. Michelle's sister, Meredith, moved to Raleigh to be close to them, often lending a helping hand with Cassidy, strengthening the family bond. Michelle, now a mother, found herself balancing her career and motherhood with a grace that only she could muster. Her days were a whirlwind of client meetings, baby milestones, and family dinners, but she thrived in this new role, embracing each challenge with the same determination she had always shown. Jason, too, found a new sense of purpose in fatherhood. His love for Cassidy was evident in his every action, from his gentle lullabies to his protective embrace. He was not just a husband or a sales agent. He was a father, a role he cherished deeply. But even in this idyllic setting, life was not without its trials. The complexities of balancing work and family life, the pressures of maintaining a home, and the challenges of parenting began to show. Yet, through it all, Michelle and Jason's love remained steadfast, a beacon guiding them through the stormy waters of life. The year was 2006, a period marked by both anticipation and turmoil for the young family. As autumn painted the Raleigh suburbs in hues of orange and gold, Michelle and Jason's life, too, seemed to be taking on new colors. Michelle was pregnant again, a joyous development, but their world was about to be shaken by unforeseen events. Jason, whose career in sales often took him away from home, embarked on a business trip on November 2nd, leaving Michelle and Cassidy in the warmth of their home. His trips were a familiar part of their routine, yet this departure carried a different air, a prelude to a tragedy that would soon unfold. During his absence, Michelle invited her friend Shelley over, seeking companionship in the quiet house. They spent the evening chatting and laughing, reminiscing about old times. It was a peaceful, ordinary night, or so it seemed. The following morning, as the first light of dawn crept through the curtains, an eerie silence hung over the young residence. The normal sounds of life were absent, replaced by a stillness that was unsettling. In a twist of fate, it was Meredith, Michelle's sister, who first sensed that something was amiss. Concerned by the unusual quiet, she made her way to the young residence, expecting to find her sister ready for work and Cassidy playing in the living room. The house, however, greeted her with a haunting scene. Michelle's car was still in the driveway, an indication that she hadn't left for work. The front door was locked, but Meredith knew the back door had a faulty lock. With a growing sense of dread, she entered the house, calling out for her sister. The silence was her only answer, a silence that screamed louder than any words. As she ventured further, a chilling sight stopped her in her tracks. There in the kitchen lay Michelle's purse, spilled open as if dropped in haste. A cold shiver ran down Meredith's spine. She ascended the stairs, her heart pounding with fear. The upstairs hallway was a picture of normalcy, but as Meredith approached Michelle's bedroom, a horrifying sight awaited her. Michelle lay on the floor, lifeless, her body a tragic testament to a violent end. The room was a chaotic scene, marked by signs of struggle and despair. Meredith's scream shattered the silence, a piercing cry that echoed through the empty house. In that moment, the world stopped for the Young family. The home that once echoed with laughter and love was now a crime scene, its walls holding the secrets of a terrible act. The police arrived, their blue lights painting the neighborhood in stark contrast to the serenity of the autumn morning. The investigation began, detectives combing through the house for clues, trying to piece together the events of that fateful night. As news of the tragedy spread, a cloud of sorrow descended over the community. Friends, neighbors, and colleagues struggled to comprehend how such a vibrant life could be extinguished so suddenly, so brutally. The days following Michelle's tragic demise were cloaked in a heavy shroud of mystery and disbelief. The Raleigh community, once vibrant and bustling, now seemed to pause in silent mourning. As autumn leaves continued their graceful descent, the investigation into Michelle Young's untimely death unfolded with increasing complexity. Michelle, a woman known for her ambition and warm heart, had met an end so cruel and unexpected that it sent ripples of shock and despair. The house that had echoed with her laughter was now a silent witness to her tragic fate. The police, determined to unravel the mystery, found themselves grappling with a case that was as perplexing as it was heartbreaking. The crime scene offered few clues. There were no signs of forced entry, suggesting that Michelle might have known her assailant. The missing rings from Michelle's fingers hinted at a personal motive, steering the investigation towards those closest to her. In the midst of this confusion, one question loomed large. Where was Jason, Michelle's husband, when this tragedy struck? His business trip, a routine affair in their lives, now took on a sinister hue in the light of recent events. His alibi placed him miles away, yet the coincidence of his absence during the crime was a puzzle that the detectives were keen to solve. The community reeled under the weight of these revelations. Friends and neighbors, who had seen Michelle as a beacon of success and happiness, now looked back, searching for missed signs and hidden truths in their interactions with the couple. Whispers of trouble in paradise began to surface, painting a picture of a marriage that may not have been as perfect as it seemed. As the investigation delved deeper, a complex web of relationships and emotions began to unravel. Jason, once seen as a loving husband and father, now stood under the cloud of suspicion. His reluctance to fully cooperate with the authorities only added to the growing doubts about his innocence. Meanwhile, the heart of the story, little Cassidy, remained oblivious to the turmoil surrounding her. Her innocence stood in stark contrast to the dark questions that hung over the family's future. In the aftermath of Michelle's harrowing death, the once peaceful neighborhood was now a hive of activity, with police cars and media vans lining the streets. Inside the Young residence, detectives combed through every inch, searching for clues in this puzzling case. The tranquility of autumn was overshadowed by the grim reality of the investigation, casting a long shadow over the community. The police faced a daunting task. The crime scene was bereft of clear evidence, no forced entry, no fingerprints out of place, and no immediate signs of a random act of violence. Yet the absence of Michelle's wedding and engagement rings pointed to a crime of a more personal nature. As detectives delved deeper, they uncovered layers of complexity. They learned of the couple's marital struggles, adding a new dimension to their inquiry. The once perceived perfect marriage of the Youngs was showing cracks, fueling speculations and theories. The focus shifted increasingly towards Jason. His alibi placed him miles away, yet the coincidental timing of his absence during the murder raised suspicions. His demeanor following the tragedy did little to dispel the doubts. His refusal to engage openly with the investigation team and his decision to hire a lawyer were seen as red flags. The community, which had once seen Jason as a devoted husband and father, now looked at him through a lens of suspicion and skepticism. Friends and neighbors recounted the couple's arguments, their once private disagreements now fodder for public scrutiny. However, the physical evidence did not directly link Jason to the crime. The lack of clear forensic evidence at the scene meant detectives had to rely on circumstantial evidence, piecing together a puzzle that was as complex as it was frustrating. The case took another turn when investigators discovered that 2 strands of hair found at the scene did not belong to Michelle. This revelation added to the mystery, suggesting the possibility of someone else's involvement in the crime. As winter approached, the case of Michelle Young remained shrouded in uncertainty. The lack of concrete evidence against Jason, coupled with the haunting questions surrounding the case, left both the investigators and the public in a state of anxious speculation. As the investigation into Michelle Young's death deepened, the cloud of suspicion around Jason thickened. The Raleigh community, once a place of friendly faces and warm greetings, now buzzed with hushed conversations and speculative glances. The changing leaves of autumn seemed to mirror the shifting perceptions of those who had known the Youngs. Detectives, grappling with a complex web of evidence and theories, scrutinized Jason's every move and motive. His alibi, placing him hundreds of miles away at the time of the murder, was a critical piece of the puzzle, but not enough to clear the fog of doubt. The police delved into the Youngs' marriage, uncovering layers of discontent and strain that belied the public facade of a happy family. Friends and relatives reluctantly came forward with tales of heated arguments and simmering tensions between Michelle and Jason, painting a picture of a union fraying at the edges. The detectives faced a conundrum. How could they reconcile the image of a devoted family man with the emerging narrative of a troubled marriage? The absence of clear physical evidence at the crime scene made it challenging to draw a direct line between Jason and the tragic events. As the days turned colder, the case grew more complex. The police learned of financial strains and personal grievances, adding new dimensions to their investigation. Each revelation seemed to add another layer of mystery rather than clarity. In this charged atmosphere, Jason's behavior did little to dispel the suspicions. His refusal to speak openly with the authorities, his hiring of a lawyer, and his seemingly detached demeanor were construed by many as signs of guilt. The media, ever present, fed the public's hunger for answers with endless speculation and analysis. The Youngs' once private lives were now open books, their every action and word scrutinized and debated. Winter's frost had settled over Raleigh, mirroring the cold and unresolved nature of Michelle Young's case. The investigation, once a flurry of activity, had now become a methodical, painstaking endeavor. The detectives, committed to unraveling the truth, found themselves navigating a labyrinth of legal complexities and dead ends. The heart of the investigation lay in the intricate web of Jason's alibi. His claim of being miles away at the time of the murder was a solid defense, yet was not impervious to doubt. The detectives pondered the possibility of a meticulously planned crime, one that required careful timing and a deep understanding of forensic evasion. As they delved into Jason's movements and communications around the time of the murder, they uncovered a pattern of behavior that raised more questions than answers. His interactions, his travel itinerary, and even his online searches became subjects of intense scrutiny. The digital footprints he left behind hinted at a mind grappling with dark thoughts and plans. In this phase of the investigation, the role of technology became crucial. Cell phone records, GPS data, and internet history provided a new avenue of inquiry, one that offered a glimpse into Jason's state of mind and actions before and after the tragedy. The community's perception of Jason continued to oscillate between sympathy and suspicion. Some saw him as a victim of circumstance, a man caught in an unfortunate situation. Others viewed him with distrust, speculating about the motives and means he might have had to harm Michelle. Meanwhile, the legal proceedings began to take shape. Prosecutors and defense attorneys prepared for a trial that promised to be as complex as the investigation itself. The burden of proof lay heavily on the shoulders of the prosecutors, who faced the daunting task of building a case on circumstantial evidence. As the new year dawned, the case of Michelle Young entered its most pivotal phase. The courtroom, a stark arena of justice, became the center stage for a drama that had gripped the heart of Raleigh. The trial promised to be a crucible of truth, where the murky details of the case would be examined under the unyielding gaze of the law. Jason, once a figure of sympathy and respect in the community, now found himself in the defendant's seat, his every expression and movement subject to scrutiny. The prosecution, armed with a tapestry of circumstantial evidence, was poised to paint a picture of a marriage crumbling under the weight of internal strife, leading to a tragic crescendo. The defense, on the other hand, faced the daunting task of dismantling the prosecution's narrative, emphasizing the absence of direct physical evidence linking Jason to the crime. They portrayed him as a bereaved husband, caught in a tragic situation, his life and reputation hanging in the balance of the court's judgment. As the trial unfolded, witnesses took the stand, each adding their thread to the complex tapestry of the Young's life. Friends and colleagues recounted their interactions with the couple, revealing a spectrum of moments, from tender to tense. The prosecution focused on the undercurrents of discontent in the marriage, suggesting a motive steeped in domestic turmoil. Key to the case were the forensic experts, who offered their analysis of the crime scene. They painted a vivid picture of the event, but their testimony often only deepened the mystery, as the lack of concrete evidence against Jason became a focal point of the defense's argument. Throughout the trial, the figure of Michelle loomed large, her absence a palpable void in the courtroom. The woman who had once been the heart of her family and community was now a silent centerpiece in a narrative of loss and betrayal. The community, which had followed every twist and turn of the case, awaited the verdict with a mixture of anticipation and trepidation. The trial was not just a legal proceeding, it had become a cathartic moment for a community seeking closure. As the trial neared its conclusion, the jury was left to sift through the layers of testimony, evidence, and emotion. The decision they were tasked with was not just about determining Jason's guilt or innocence. It was about finding a semblance of justice for a tragedy that had shattered a family and a community. The conclusion of the Michelle Young case unfolded in a courtroom filled with tension and anticipation. The jury, bearing the weight of the public's and the entire country's gaze, removed themselves to deliberate on the fate of Jason Young. The unspoken thoughts of everyone in attendance hung in the air, each person being drawn into the emotional tapestry of the trial. As the hours turned into days, the community of Raleigh waited with bated breath. The case had become a fixture in their lives, a story that transcended the boundaries of a mere criminal trial. It had stirred conversations about trust, love, and justice in the quiet homes and bustling streets of the city. Finally, the moment of reckoning arrived. The courtroom, a microcosm of a community torn between grief and the need for closure, fell into a hushed silence as the jury returned. The verdict was in, a culmination of weeks of testimony, evidence, and fervent legal arguments. In a solemn tone, the jury pronounced Jason Young guilty, their words echoing through the courtroom like a final gavel strike. The verdict was a complex blend of relief, sorrow, and unresolved questions. For some, it was a closure, a painful chapter coming to an end. For others, it was a moment of reflection on the intricacies of justice and the fragility of human relationships. Jason, once a part of the community's fabric, now faced a future behind bars, his life irreversibly altered by the verdict. The trial had painted a portrait of a man caught in the web of his actions and decisions, a narrative that would forever be linked to his name. For the family and friends of Michelle, the verdict brought a semblance of peace, though it could never fill the void left by her absence. Her memory, etched in the hearts of those who knew her, became a beacon for discussions about domestic violence, the complexities of marriage, and the often hidden struggles within seemingly perfect lives. As the courtroom emptied and the media frenzy subsided, the story of Michelle Young and the trial of Jason Young settled into the annals of Raleigh's history. The case had been a journey through the shadows of the human heart, a story that had captivated and divided a community. In the end, the saga of Michelle Young was more than a criminal case. It was a mirror reflecting the complexities of love, trust, and betrayal. It was a reminder of the thin line between the public facade and private reality in people's lives. As the seasons changed and life in Raleigh moved forward, the story of Michelle Young remained a poignant reminder of the unpredictability of life and the enduring quest for truth and justice in the face of tragedy.